Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Matt Capper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. As you can see behind me, we are going to be talking about the Fire Knight. I have not created, I've used two new teams in the Fire Knight based on some love and support from my Twitch stream. The one you currently see here is a Fire Knight 24 team that I use. It's a little bit slower, but it fails about once every 200. It's pretty consistent, and the most important thing about it is it does not rely on having an Allure or a Lysandra or a Kimmy to be able to manipulate turn meter. It's using Vizix, who is a free login champion. It's using an epic Spirit Affinity champion that you can replace with other champions in Stag Knight, and it's using a pair of Cold Hearts that whose stats are not phenomenally out of touch or out of reach. And if you do have better gear, you can actually absolutely gear these champions for an even better opportunity, better chance to succeed in this team. So just the better gear you are, the faster you'll go, because you can make your team go faster. So the advantage of this team here is, of course, the Stag Knight. Given that he has the decrease attack, it does help you survive because you will take one hit from the shield more often than not. It usually happens right here, although it looks like we might actually, this might be a condition where we don't get it, which is interesting. We might get the shield once, and that's where it's so important. You'll see Stag Knight put this down. Now he's got the decreased attack, which means even if we do take a hit, we're still going to survive. If you want to ensure that you don't ever get hit by the Fire Knight, because maybe you're not using a Stag Knight, or a Duck is another good one to use, then you can absolutely do that. You just need to speed up your Cold Hearts and your Vizix faster than what I'll show you what these are in a little bit. So other than that, the Cold Hearts are important. They're rares. I know they're Void Affinity, but at least it makes it a lot more free to play. Like I said, the Vizix is a free to play champion. Obviously, you get her from logins. Fully booked is the preferable because she is tanking a lot of that damage on those waves while you're taking them down. But again, 217, it is a perfectly reasonable team. It's very consistent and very strong for Fire Knight 24. Now, before I show you stats, I do want to go over to Fire Knight 25, and many thanks to Mr. Blonde LOL, who is one of my Twitch followers and subs, who we talked into this team that he uses. And there are a couple differences between our teams, but this is the basic team for 25. It is an Allure Seer team, so I wanted to show the other team first, a little bit more free-to-play friendly. Oh, one other thing about that other team, Salad is not critical. I've actually used other champions in that moment. Just Spirit Affinity is the best. Damage dealing nuking's what you want. Just keep that in mind. The Salad just makes it quicker because he's strong affinity and he has an AoE A1 and the boost with the speed and everything. So it's really helpful in that. But you can use other champions for that, and Stag Knight you can replace. It's just the Vizix and the two Cold Hearts that make that combo happen. The other two are for speed and efficiency. Okay, so here's this team. This team is a little bit more set in stone. I have used Salad. Kimmy is faster, and we'll explain why. She's also safer, so that you have a better win condition. So let's run this team here on 20. This team will not consistently work on 19 because of Allure. So you'd have to, if you wanted to use this team, you'd have to use someone else in place of Allure. And there's not a whole lot that can do what Allure can do. Lysandra is one of them. But I don't think it would quite be as fast. You can give it a try if you want. So here we go. As you can see here, we're just going to get that buff. Those happen consistently all the time because Ghostborn cannot be resisted on his defense down, and everything else is just the number of buffs you have. That is overkill. Kimmy is overkill, which is why you can use other champions. You don't need that many buffs. But where I find Kimmy is so important, and what we talked about in the stream with Mr. Blonde, is that she's the backup to Allure. There is a 3% resist chance. There is issues that can happen with that. And because she has a turn meter reduction on her A1, a chance to have that happen, plus her A2, and she's got the big speed debuff, and she's got a speed increase, All that combined just make this a safer run, and it's going to be about 140 for the time, so it's still very reasonably. If you're getting under 2 minutes, that's more than enough, and I'm sure you'd be more than happy with. So as you can see here, pretty easy team. Keys to make it faster: War Master on all your champions except for Allure. Allure should have a Giant Slayer that just speeds it up by getting more damage. As you can see there, 42 130 on it. Just gonna help you out. See, 131, that's actually the fastest I've done with this particular comp. So that's the Giant Slayer War Master proc happening there. Oh, that's too bad. That's just too bad, isn't it? That it's an attack. I might keep it anyway. Triple roll crit rate or crit damage, I don't know. Anyway, so there you go. There's a couple teams that you can use. Let's look at the stats now. Just so you have an idea of the stats and the setup. Oop, wrong button. So the team you just watched, which is the Fire Knight 25, I use Ghostborn Lead. I should probably use Seer, but I don't want to rebuild the whole thing. I'm lazy. But Ghostborn Lead, no specific things you need here. He just needs to be ahead of, obviously, Seer for damage. So I have him at 232. He should be 100% crit rate. Actually, sorry, I take that back. He does not need to be 100% crit rate because you're up against Force Affinity, so he can afford to be 85 and still do that because you just want the extra damage on the... This is more for the boss, right? So any extra damage you can eke out from him for the boss is a win. Seer, she's the slowest. She just has to make sure she gets to go twice before their team goes. With Kimmy, that's a lot easier because she can put a slow out there. But if you aren't using Kimmy, you just have to make sure that she's getting her second turn, because we do have to do one full rotation and then go because we're using Renegade. I'll explain in a minute why we're using Renegade. But I just forced her to use Karma Burn. There are certain conditions where even though she will kill the wave, she still wants to use her A2 over her A3. And then this crit damage, way more than you need. This is way more. Huge overkill. She really only needs about 260, somewhere in the 260 range for that. And then accuracy, just enough. That's a little bit over, but still pretty good. Renegade. So a couple of things about Renegade to know. Number one, the reason why you're using Renegade over Kymar. I do have Kymar. And Renegade in a shield set for extra buffs, by the way. Probably don't need it in this particular comp, but if you're not using Kimmy, you may. The reason why we use her is because her A2 is a multi-hit. It's a 3-time multi-hit, and that is integral to taking down that shield now that we're up to 12 on 21 through 25. And I use that first. So she's going to use this on round 1, then Seer's going to kill. On round 2, she's going to use Sacrificial Ritual, but Seer won't be ready because she has to go an extra turn before it's off of cooldown. So then she'll use her A1. And then when you get to the shield set, she'll be using her A2 again, which is perfect timed to get that multi-hit on that shield. So that's very important to do. She's also 241 speed. She doesn't have to be 241 speed. She can be, as long as she's faster than the Seer, everything else will work fine, because Ghostborn's is a 4-turn cooldown, so he needs that 1 turn around anyway. So whether that's on a 3 or a 2 turn when Renegade resets is irrelevant. He'll still use it in time for Seer to do her burn. Keep in mind, hers is a 4-turn as well, that's why. But Kimmy's, the reason why she doesn't need it is hers is a 4-turn as well. So all of them need to take that extra turn anyway. And because they're taking that extra turn, Renegade doesn't have to necessarily be in a particular order. I just like her being faster than Allure, or Seer, so we can properly get that A2 back around on time. So there are some pushes there. Also to note, and to go back here, Renegade speed, Allure speed 303, 287 I believe is the speed you need, and my Lady Kimmy is 256. You should, for faster times, get 100% crit rate, have them all War Master like I mentioned. The other thing is, Mr. Blonde actually has these reversed. So his Lady Kimmy is 235 speed and his Allure is 227. Because that allows Kimmy to loop through 1 extra time, it gives you speed boost longer because she gets around to it, and it gives her a chance to get back to her A2 quicker, and that actually makes up for the fact that your Allure is slower. So you can do it either way, and his speed, he said his times are around 115 to 120 on this level 25. So a perfect team, great speeds there. Mine's a little bit slower because of the way I have it. Maybe I'll rework it, and in a future video we'll show an updated version of that. But there's the team for 25. If you're going to 24, it's not the fastest team in the world, but it does have the advantage of being very, very consistent. And that's this team, also with no turn meter manipulators that aren't available readily, or should be readily available to you, the free-to-play player. Salad, I have at 204. More damage here. This team is actually slower than it used to be. I lost about 15 seconds because I've been using Salad and Hydra, which means I needed him to be more survivable and less glass cannon. Originally, I had him at about 260 crit damage and Savage and about 5k attack, and that just gets through everything a lot quicker, so keep that in mind. Do not need to use Salad, but you do need a nuker for speeds. So you do want someone who can do damage, and Salad obviously fits that bill, but not everyone has Salad, so Spirit Affinity is better. Same with Stag Knight. You do not need Stag Knight, but Stag Knight's probably the best for this comp because his Huntsmaster has that decreased attack when you get hit with that shield. Also, speed's pretty slow here in comparison to top tier farming teams. If you speed everyone up, then you're just going to be better off in this. As long as they're in the same order, things are going to do just fine. My one cold heart, 209, 85 crit rate. I do recommend 100% crit rate on these champions. I know that her A3 is you only need 75 for it to work, but her A1 and 2 are helping with the waves. So if you have a pair of cold hearts with 100% crit rate, it's just going to make it a lot quicker. I just didn't bother doing that because I use them in other areas, and I'm constantly changing their gear around. Their crit damage is capped on the boss, but is not capped on the waves. So keep that in mind. It'll absolutely help with clearing out waves. One of them 209, the other one 185. And then finally Vizix at 222, at 251 crit damage, 262 accuracy. She is what makes this work with the cold hearts. She has the provoke so that she can take and tank all the hits while your team takes down the enemy. This hits very hard. Ally protection to help any attacks that slip through. For example, if there's a resisted taunt, they're not going to die because the ally protect also has the decreased speed, does a lot of damage. And then finally Flanged Mace, which has that turn meter reduction, which is very, of course, strong in the, needs to be booked, but very strong, and that's the difference maker for this comp. So there you go. There are the two teams. I hope one of them is useful for you. I'm happy to revisit anytime. If you want me to showcase a team you're using and I have the champions, I am more than happy to make that happen. So let me know what you're using, how you're using it, and I'll try to replicate it and make a video for it. So many thanks to Mr. Blonde, and many thanks to a nice Fire Knight 25 farming team. Fire Knight event happening right now, so perfect timing. That is all I have for you today. I appreciate you making it through the video. Hey, you know what? It's 2022, so not only are you going to sub to me because you're a good human being, be safe, be kind. See you in the next video.